caught my pregnant wife cuddling with her coworker on our security camera while I was away. She insists it was innocent. I'm a 39-year-old man, and my wife, 38, and I have been together for 12 years. I've always considered our relationship perfect. We rarely argue and genuinely enjoy each other's company while also allowing each other the freedom to pursue our interests. We bought a home we love, have stable, well-paying jobs with great work-life balance, and overall, it's been a fantastic partnership. For the last 2 years, we've been trying to get pregnant but hadn't had any luck. Just as we were about to start fertility treatments, I returned from a work trip to find out she's pregnant. I had this fleeting thought. Didn't we agree not to try that month because of the upcoming treatments? But with our busy lives, I figured I must have misremembered. I travel frequently for work, often spending up to 40 weeks a year on the road. Over the past few years, my wife has become close with a coworker named Matt, who's around 34 and also married. I've never suspected anything inappropriate. I always thought it was wise to stay aware of the possibility, even if I had no real concerns. About a month ago, while I was away, she mentioned Matt was coming over for dinner. This wasn't unusual, as he'd visited before, sometimes with his wife, sometimes not. Our home has a security system with cameras, which we both know I often check when I'm away. When I logged in that evening, I was shocked to see my pregnant wife lying on the floor while Matt was sitting near her, using a foam roller on her hips. They were talking and eating normally, but then they moved to the couch under a blanket. That's when I felt a jolt of confusion and betrayal. I texted her while watching, and when Matt left, we had a tense argument. She insisted nothing inappropriate happened and that she was just seeking relief from her pregnancy discomfort. The real kicker was when I asked if she would have felt comfortable doing that in front of me. She admitted she wouldn't have. After a few days, I returned home, still unsettled. I started to wonder, what if my gut feeling about the pregnancy was tied to something else? What if Matt was involved and this child wasn't mine? My anxiety grew, but I tried to convince myself it was unlikely anything had happened between them. When I got home, she was on edge, and after a couple of days, she finally broke down, swearing nothing had happened. While I mostly believe her, I'm still grappling with the fear of what if I'm wrong. I don't want to bring up the paternity issue yet. I'm not ready to crush her with that possibility if she's being truthful. Right now, I'm considering waiting until the baby is born to get a paternity test done quietly. Should I approach her about this? If you were in her shoes and were telling the truth, how would you react? What would you do if you were lying? I'm really trying to figure out the best way to handle this situation without causing more damage. I'm trying to focus on addressing this situation now rather than pushing it aside for later. I appreciate everyone who's only focused on my relationship, but that's not where my head is right now. My wife and I have been having some deep conversations about this. We're pretty open with each other, and while I'm not convinced nothing happened, my primary concern is about paternity. If I find myself needing to track my wife on Life 360, then our relationship is already in trouble. That's not the kind of partnership I want. We're working on rebuilding trust, and I've shifted my initial doubt from 1% to around 10%. I take our relationship seriously, and I've already discussed with my lawyer what would happen if the child isn't mine. Thankfully, in my state, issues regarding the birth certificate shouldn't complicate things too much. Both of us are financially independent, so the outcome won't be catastrophic for either of us. I'll keep this post updated as things progress. Update. May 10th, 2024. My wife was out of state for a business trip but returned last night. Since it's Friday, she worked from home today, and I brought up the topic. I asked for a paternity test, and she immediately agreed, expressing complete confidence that there's nothing to worry about. However, I made it clear that if any part of the process is too invasive according to our doctors, I'm okay with waiting until it's safer. We had a longer conversation, and now we're sitting together for lunch. She doesn't know I'm sharing this here since I created a new account to keep it private. Thanks to everyone for your insights. Our openness really helped me realize that if nothing happened, she wouldn't hesitate to get tested. I'm also concerned about her health, especially since she's at risk during this pregnancy, and it took us a long time to conceive. I'm about 90 to 95% sure the child is mine, but getting the test will help us navigate this situation further. Update 2. I see this topic has gained more attention here. Yes, I have the footage, but I haven't spoken to Matt yet. He wants to talk to her, but I advised them to hold off for now. My priority is my relationship with my wife and the paternity issue. I don't plan to involve Matt's wife. I'm not here to create unnecessary drama. His situation is his own business. Regarding why my wife thought she could be intimate with someone else, we've had extensive discussions about it. I understand her reasoning, and while she insists nothing further happened, we're still navigating through that. She acknowledges that it doesn't look great, but claims she wasn't thinking clearly at the time. I can't definitively say if she's been to Matt's house when his wife isn't home. We do all hang out occasionally, but they work closely together every day. While I have female friends I've traveled and spent time with, I've never crossed any lines because I love my wife. The optics of this situation are troubling, and I'm trying to discern whether it's just that or if there's more to it. My wife says she's never noticed anything inappropriate, and she spends time with both him and his wife just like we do. As for that day, I won't get into every detail from the footage. There was a moment that seemed suspicious, but I can't make any conclusions without solid proof. I just want clarity on what happened. I'm having daily conversations with my wife as we navigate this situation together. The main topic we hadn't addressed yet was paternity, and I've been careful not to put her in a position where she could face a medical risk to the baby, regardless of whose it is. I realize that I haven't included every detail, and I may have even added some misleading information about our lives. A while back, I faced a threat from someone online that escalated to the point where federal authorities got involved. It's frustrating to see people jumping to conclusions without knowing the full story. Regarding Matt, my wife's friend's husband, our relationship isn't close. I only see his wife occasionally, maybe at a bar or during family dinners. So I wouldn't just go to her and say, "Hey, your husband was at my house and did something inappropriate." That wouldn't help anyone, especially if I don't even know if anything happened. I don't want to create unnecessary drama or destroy my relationship over assumptions. Update 3, August 21st, 2024. Here's the latest. My wife is still very much pregnant, now in that stage where picking things up off the floor is a challenge. She's due in about 6 weeks. We've been having long, honest discussions about everything, and she insists nothing inappropriate has occurred. For a time, she felt guilty for my doubts, and I'm trying to minimize her stress right now. We'll revisit this topic after the baby arrives, as my main concern is ensuring a healthy delivery. We still have a slight disagreement over Matt's closeness to her. I think he may have developed feelings for her, while she believes that's not the case. I've requested a paternity test, and she's on board with it, as long as it's safe for her pregnancy. Our doctors advised us that we'd need to go through legal channels to get a test, which we both found frustrating. Ultimately, we've decided to wait until after the birth. I have a lab lined up to handle the test when the time comes. While I'm 95% sure it's unnecessary, I want that peace of mind for both our sakes. Thanks to everyone who has reached out with supportive messages. I'll catch up on those soon. For those suggesting I act out in childish ways or seek revenge, please reconsider. That's not the path to take. I'll likely be away from here until I have the lab results, which should take about 48 hours once submitted. If you're interested in updates, check back in a couple of months. Story 2. So, here's another situation that's a bit unusual. It involves me, 24F, my best friend Caroline, 23F, my younger sister Nicola, 19F, and our mutual friend Daniel, 28M. Over the weekend, we attended a wedding for a family friend, and it turned out to be quite eventful. Caroline and I have been best friends forever, so we were excited about this large wedding, with over 500 guests. Everything was going smoothly until Caroline got very drunk and started obsessing over Daniel, one of the groomsmen. She's had a crush on him for years, but he's been in a serious relationship for 6 years, which likely explains his lack of interest. His girlfriend chose not to attend the wedding since she wasn't close to the bride and groom. Daniel was one of the groomsmen, but I figured I wouldn't see much of him. Fast forward a few hours, and there's Caroline all over him. She was constantly asking him to dance, getting him drinks from the open bar, and just throwing herself at him. Honestly, it was really uncomfortable to watch. I tried to step in a few times, hoping to pull her away, but she snapped at me, making it clear she wasn't interested in listening. At that point, I decided it wasn't my problem anymore. Daniel wasn't exactly pushing her away either. He seemed a little tipsy and maybe even interested in her. If he didn't care, why should I? If he wanted to throw his relationship away, that was on him. I didn't see what happened next, but by the end of the night, Caroline and Daniel ended up hooking up in a different room. It all escalated so quickly that it was shocking. Somehow someone's mom, who knew Daniel and his girlfriend but didn't recognize Caroline, walked in on them. In a strange twist, Caroline told her she was Nicola, my sister. I don't know if she was embarrassed or just drunk, but she chose to identify herself as Nicola to avoid any trouble. Before we knew it, the rumor spread that Daniel was caught with Nicola, and it was a disaster. People were gossiping about how disrespectful and rude Nicola was, and honestly, I couldn't blame them. If I didn't know better, I'd think the same thing. Caroline had even been going around confirming the rumor, saying it was Nicola. The bride and groom were furious, and everyone was talking badly about my sister. When I confronted Caroline about it at the wedding, she denied everything, but Daniel later confirmed it was actually Caroline he had hooked up with. If he hadn't, I might have believed her. The next day, Caroline texted Nicola a half-hearted apology, saying she was so drunk and didn't know what she was doing, but the message was littered with LOL and haha, which made it seem like she wasn't taking it seriously at all. Nicola was devastated. She genuinely thought her life was ruined. We live in a small community, and so many people had heard the wrong version of events. Now I'm torn about what to do. Up until this point, Caroline had been a really good friend to both me and Nicola. Sure, we've had our ups and downs like any friendship, but she's always been kind and caring. I've known her my whole life, and what happened at the wedding was so out of character for her. Throwing away a friendship of over 15 years is a huge decision, but am I ready to do it if it feels right? To complicate things further, Nicola is scared of the possible fallout with Daniel's current girlfriend. I don't know her well, and have no idea what Daniel has shared with her, if anything. A lot of people have asked how I could even consider staying friends with Caroline. But before all this, she was genuinely a great friend. Now, though, it feels different. Even if I were to forgive her, my family sees her in a totally different light now. We wouldn't be able to hang out like we used to, especially at family events. I'm considering asking Caroline to publicly own up to the situation. I honestly have no clue how she'll react. Usually she's a pretty moral person, but she also hates confrontation, so I wonder if she'll step up. My family has been trying to set the record straight, but it's tough to undo a rumor that spread so quickly. Most people are too uncomfortable to talk to us directly, so we can only guess at what's being said behind our backs. I want to thank everyone who offered advice. I really didn't expect such a strong response. It means a lot. A week and a half ago, Caroline casually called me and asked if she could sleep over because she wanted to attend an event downtown. It hit me then that she had no idea anyone was upset with her. When I told her it wasn't a good idea and brought up the wedding incident, she laughed and said Nicola just needed to get over it. She seemed to think I would agree with her, which was frustrating. Now I'm left wondering how to handle this whole mess. I took your advice and really let her have it. I told her how selfish and inconsiderate she had been, and I made it clear that if it truly wasn't a big deal, she should have no problem owning up to her actions. I insisted she publicly acknowledge that she was the one who hooked up with Daniel, not Nicola. It was important for her to set things right, especially since Nicola was still feeling mortified over something she didn't even do. By the end of the call, I gave her an ultimatum. Either she spills the truth about what really happened, or our friendship would be over. Thanks to the Redditor who suggested this, to my complete surprise, she actually did it. I thought it would make me feel better, but instead, I found people commenting on her post, praising her bravery for doing the right thing. It really annoyed me because I knew she wouldn't have done this if I hadn't pushed her. Still, at least Nicola is happy now and her reputation is intact. As for Daniel and his girlfriend, according to his Instagram, they seem to be doing well together. I have no idea if she knows about Caroline, and honestly, I don't care. It's not my mess to clean up.